So after a couple of amazing builds over the last couple of videos, let's see if we can ramp this up a notch. So welcome to issue 17 of Warhammer Stormbringer. This is a paint issue, so all we get is 2 pots of paint. We get Abaddon Black and we get Agrax Earthshade. These are the two. This is nothing unusual except for the colour. You've seen this before. And this is Shade Agrax Earthshade. Basically what Agrax Earthshade is like a dirty brown. Did have a little bit of an accident. It came like that. It was stuck, but it's only the cover. So let's have a look at the insides. So we've got a pull-out sheet for Destruction Part 2. That'll go in the folder. Let's put that somewhere safe. And we begin with Part 4 of the Krill Boys. This is about war clans. And then we've got more of the history, the Age of Chaos. I shall have a look at that later on. I do love me chaos. I mean, look at that. Look at that picture. What's not to love there? Absolutely amazing. I do love me chaos. So we have now got an article on how to paint, technique. It tells you about mixing with water, the correct consistency, what to look out for if it's too thin, metallic paints, how they're different from other paints, and what happens if they're too thin. It's not the end of the world if they're too thin, but obviously the correct consistency is a little bit better than having it too thin. Definitely better than having it too thick. So it tells you how to use the paintbrush. I don't mean, oh, here's a brush, how to use it. It tells you how to apply tricky details, how to load the brush up and applying the paint, and then multiple thin coats. And you can see there that according to Warhammer, what the difference between the 3 layers looks like, which is not a lot different from mine. You see that first coat was a little bit patchy. The second coat kind of blocks it in a bit more, but that third coat's really nice. How to deal with fragile parts and how to keep your brushes clean. Little bit of an advert there for a Citadel product. They do want you to buy their water pots. They are good. The water pots are good. I am of the opinion you can get better, and you can get better for cheaper. But it is a good product. Nothing wrong with any of the Citadel products, it's just sometimes the price. So we've got painting hard to reach areas, painting from the bottom layer upwards, and painting dark to light. So this touches on what we've seen in previous magazines. And then it goes on about how to paint using the black and the Agrax Earthshade. It says, first of all, it says you don't need to place shades on your palette. Instead, load up your brush with shade directly from the pot. It is generally used straight from the pot. There are instances where you will add water or some kind of medium to thin it down if you don't want the effect to be so strong. And it tells you how to do focus shading. And then obviously we would normally just paint the models that we've already got. So a lot of the work will be done on the chariot, which obviously we haven't done. But we will see what it comes out like. And we've got some on the Krill Boys and how shading the Krill Boys. Then we go on to the battle basics. So we've got battle traits there. And then we have another playthrough. I keep losing track of this. It should be 7. Yeah, it is 17. And victory conditions. A little bit more gumph. A little bit of advertising there. And then on the back page it tells us what we're getting in the next couple of issues. which we will be dealing with in the next issue. So this is the, I won't go too much into this. Let me just have a little play with the focus, with the zoom, sorry. So this is the Citadel colour Abaddon Black. You'll see this is a base paint, just like all the others. That means it's much more heavily pigmented, so the coverage will be a lot better. And then obviously it's designed to place colours on top of for shading. I won't go into that because we won't be using it today. So this is my messy Agrax Earthshade. Now these tend to come in larger bottles. So this is an 18ml bottle compared to your usual 12ml. They do obviously cost, I'm sure they cost a little bit more. Now there is a saying in a lot of the shops that I've been into, you are not a proper Warhammer painter until you have dropped one of, or spilt one of these on the, so many people knock them over, and it is a liquid, as you can tell. And basically what the shade is for is exactly as it says, it shades things in. So if I get, there we go. So I have an old piece of practice sprue that I've been using for various things. If I just cut this off. So what we have is, I might need to just bring that zoom in a little bit more. So we have on this sprue, we have some detail. As you can see, it's a little bit tricky to see. So what we do is now always shake your shade just about every time you use it. If you're doing prolonged use on this, periodically give it a shade. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit on our brush. We don't need tons. Use it perhaps like normal paint. And then what we're going to do, when the focus comes in, if the focus ever comes in, there we go, we'll just paint along there. And then any excess, you see it's quite a lot on there, we can just mop that up with a brush. Until we've got the amount that we want. Now don't go too heavy on this, but can you see instantly how it's gone into all the recesses and around the edges? And what it's doing, it's a little bit like a panel liner on an aircraft model, because it fills in those recesses, and when that dries it will really emphasize. Now what's going to happen as well is it would use gravity, so it will pull down. So obviously if you put it like this, it's going to pull. And my focus has gone mad. And you need to leave that for about 20 minutes. So we'll come back to that in about 20 minutes to half an hour. So I've given that a good 20 minutes or so, and you can see how it's really brought that, well you can't now because the focus isn't there, but are we going to have a focus, guys? So you see it's really brought those details out. The recessed bits have been darkened, and now you can really, well, you should be able to read that really well. Why is my focus not working all of a sudden? Is it because it's gone in too close? Yeah, I focused it too much. There we go, guys. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to pick, I say at random, we'll pick one of the models, and what we'll do is we'll give that an all over shade, and then we'll see what it does for the model. Now do also remember that it's going to pool in any recesses. So what's going to happen is as I paint this, around here it's going to pool, and then these hard edges are harder edges there, it's going to fall down there. But it will still discolour other areas, the flat areas, and then all we need to do, as you can see, we paint it all on, and then we move it around to where we want it to go, and we manipulate it And what I'll often do is I might put plenty on the top areas and then I'll move it around. This stuff does go everywhere, guys. You'll get it all over your fingers. And you see you've got some areas there where it's pooling. We'll just pull that out a little bit. Get some into the deeper recesses. Still go for underneath, even though the effect won't be so good, so harsh, because obviously it's darker. Because we zenithal. By the way, I will just say I don't know if this is going to work, but by the looks of it, it looks like it might. So get it all over, paint it on, but you just want to give it nice smoothness. It's very hard to correct it once it's dry. There we go. We'll pull some of that out. But when it's wet, it's gonna find its own positioning. And the way I normally apply it is I'll get it all on, and then I'll just start adjusting it once it's on. So areas where there's a little bit too much, we'll try and remove some, and areas where there's not enough, we'll put extra in. Sometimes you might be able to get it from the areas where there's too much and move that into the areas where there's less. So there we go. We'll just start adjusting it now. If you've got some nice detailed areas, pull it across so that the detail pulls in. So as you can see, it's all it's starting to adjust itself. And then all we can do now, you see that looks quite nice. You can see how the detail's gonna start forming there. And it just starts to add more detail. So there we go. I'm going to place that there. Oh, it does make a mess on the desk. And I'm going to get on with doing some more. So in the time that I've painted these, the first couple are really on the way to drying. It's just you got to watch out these bottom bits, but as you can see, it's starting to dry, and it really is starting to enhance some details. So where I've sprayed white on the top, it really does affect it far more than where it's black. But I'll give it more drying time, and we'll come back once it's fully dry. So I've left them to dry for quite a while actually. I went out and did something else, and as you can see, the actual shade has just kind of died down a bit, and it's just picked up. It's really sort of helped that detail. You can see the skulls there really popped out. This one I'm rather pleased with. This has worked out really well. You see little bits I've missed actually. This one is really nice. I do like the horns, so I do apologise that the you can pick up the system noise. We'll just stop that. So yeah, you can see it's really picked up the detail. They do like to put detail in horns. These have come out rather nice. You can see all that lower detail hidden up near the bottom. Big old skull there. Did you notice that one before? Can you see how it's really defined now? Then we've got the oryx, and yeah, they're really full of detail. Can you see why I was having so much trouble painting them? It's picking out all that detail. He's turned out rather nice. So as you'll see, it has a greater effect where it's lighter. Where it's darker, it still has an effect, but it's not quite so great. Which is why all the light, the shade and everything is quite important. So as I say, you've got some detail there, but it works better. You know, it's more predominant on the lighter areas. These have come out very, very well. If you look at the writing on the scrolls, let me just pull that back a bit. It seems to be having trouble with the focus, but the writing on the scrolls has really produced a good result. All the detail on the handles, you can see that it's really worked wonders on the cloaks, and the chainmail is really, really good. This one's probably one of the better ones, but look at all the detail that's just popped out. I think I'll definitely do this shading more often. You see the folds in the cloak, it's really popped out. Go through the videos and have a look at these when they were just grey army compared to now, you'll see the differences. So there's the back of the cloak, and there's the inside of the cloak, so you can see it's much darker in there. Still got detail in there, but because of the zenithal highlighting and the shading. Now I didn't deliberately leave this till last. It was so big I moved it to one side. So you see that all these little, it's added so much more depth. These bits it's not really done much to, because these are quite straight, and we've got these little puddles which I've deliberately left some of them. Now I did make a bit of a cock up, but we can all learn from it. You can see how it's really pooled at the bottom. I didn't check that, and now that can be painted over, but it doesn't look as good. Well, I've allowed it to puddle, so little bit of a mistake there, but it's all good. Yeah, so that is issue 17 complete. So now we finally know what a shade looks like. So these are all going in my case, and then next week we'll be working on issue 18, which is the Cunning Crew. So it looks like there's 5 of them. That looks a little bit interesting. And then we have a single character model for issue 19, which is a Guard of Steel Soul. Look at the detail on that sword. That's going to be really nice with a bit of shade on it. So yeah, that's next issue. So hopefully I'll catch you then.